Yeah, so I'm going to go a little bit off the cuff here and say that during my swimming career, I didn't sacrifice one thing. And you
Hmm.
often hear people talk about, you're right, I sacrificed this, I sacrificed that.
Yeah.
When I was younger, I didn't go to dances when I was in grade 11 and 12, and I sacrificed going on dates or going out with my friends drinking when you're old enough, or, I sacrificed watching my favorite sports team play. But if you think about what the nature of what you're sacrificing, the nature of what you're getting. So I didn't stay up late to watch my favorite hockey team play because I got up early to better myself. And when you think about that, is that really a sacrifice? If the goal is to always push forward and always be better. So my personal model was I want to be better today than I was yesterday. I want to be better tomorrow than I am today. Give yourself a break. It's a tough life out there right now, right? Don't be so hard on others. Don't be so hard on yourself. Give yourself that chance to relax and rest. But yes, give yourself that chance to be great. Back in '92, as you alluded to earlier, when we were talking about that, a race that I did, and I won a bronze medal at the Paralympics. I was going back and forth, and I wasn't supposed to win a medal, and I was in fourth place at the 300-meter mark, and I said, okay, I'm going to go now, and another voice inside me, don't do it. And then another voice, that's sort of that angel voice, comes in and says, go now, allow yourself to be great. And I sort of put on as much extra effort that I could be, and I finished in third place and won an amazing bronze medal for Canada and a Canadian record. And the moment of being able to say to myself, allow yourself to be great, took away all those inhibitions or stress or whatever, because it was just, I had no choice. So I would say that for everybody watching, just give you that chance to be great.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the another episode of Conversation with Harpreet. My name is Harpreet Singh. I'm so much honored to have this special guest on my show, guys. He's a swimmer champion who won two world championships in 1998, 2002, brought gold medal in Canada. He's also a Paralympic champion, and he made Canada proud so many times. Like, I'm so much honored and grateful to have him on the show. So without any further ado, please welcome Andrew Haley. Andrew, thank you so much for coming on the show, brother.
Good morning. It's great to be here with you this morning.
Good morning, good morning. Like I said, like I'm so much excited, and I'm also like very proud. Like you represented Canada like so many times in international level, and I just like feel so much excited now, like talking with you, brother.
Well, it's interesting because obviously you have that red turban on your head, and that's what it is, right? I mean, it's
Mm-hmm.
Canada is very symbolic when you see something red, and being patriotic. Canada Day, everybody's wears red, so it was very much an honor during those times to have red on my calf, and it's just it's not something that you can really put into words in terms of representing your country. Canada, pick a country that maybe your native land or whatever, but it was a really exciting thing and you take great pride in doing it, right? When you're on the starting block and you're getting ready to go, and not just doing it, but doing it right, doing it fair, not cheating, not cutting corners. And when you know that when you're on the starting block, or starting a track race or marathon, or a volleyball game, or whatever you happen to be playing, that you've given your best effort, and then you go out and you try to play in a level playing field. So it was a great honor.
No, definitely, definitely. And like when we know about you, like we know like you won medals for the country, like you won world championship. But if we really look into it, like you also won the game of life before even becoming championship. Like you beat cancer like not once for twice. Could you please share that journey, share that story with the listeners, like why and how that child made that decision, and he came out as a champion from that thing.
Yeah, so I was 6 years old many years ago, playing in our family home with I have a twin brother. His name is Brett, and I was jumping from chair to chair, as any normal kids would do, and even I have a 4-year-old who's doing this sort of the same jumping around, so it's quite a common thing. And during that particular time, I fell. My parents saw that I ran downstairs because I heard some noise, and took me to the hospital at the time, when you're dealing with this, you just think it's probably a break or something. You're not expecting essentially what amounts to being the worst. And I'm sure that some of your listeners have been through a moment in their life, whether they have kids or parents or something, that something happens that you feel it's one thing, and then it just goes really bad in a real hurry. But honestly, like, we all deal with challenges in our life. We all deal with obstacles, and certainly that was a very huge obstacle for me. They gave me a 35% chance to beat it. So the diagnosis was pretty poor. But when you try to look at the power of working together, I was asked a question the other day about, think of a moment that shaped you, and think about it from a leadership perspective. And now that I'm a leader doing what I'm doing in my current position, I think back to those times. I think back that, that everything was, it really seemed insurmountable. The journey, the fight that I had in front of me, and I was never going to give up the fight. And I had doctors and nurses and my parents and friends, everybody fighting for that one goal, and that was for me to get well. And unfortunately, a lot of people around me were not successful, but somehow I was able to come through at the other end. So once I had that, once I came through it, I almost felt like a responsibility to make something of my life. And maybe that's sort of what led to my drive and determination to say, like, all right, I'm here for a reason. Let's get after, see what I can do with myself. But certainly, challenges are tough. We just have to be strong. We have to be resilient, and I think that was part of my success.
Yeah, and this is interesting. Like you mentioned, like you never gave up. And correct me if I'm wrong. I believe doctors mentioned that, like, when you get out from the hospital, they say like you should take easy, like you shouldn't ride a bike like for 1 year. But you again like took a tough decision. You learned to ride a bike in just 1 week. Like I wanna understand that mentality of the child. Like what happened and what made you that I wanna do it. Like I want to learn a bike in just 1 week. And what happened? Like what why you did that?
Yeah, so just to clarify, so when I was 6 years old, I lost my right part of my right leg to osteogenic sarcoma, which is commonly known as bone cancer, which is exactly the same type of cancer. And actually, it was around the same time, 1980, Terry Fox was going through his battle. So there's a lot of similarities. At the time, cancer was nowhere near our family, and then all of a sudden, I'm in the eye of that storm. I was lucky enough to be able to beat it. My hair fell out. It grew back. It grew back curly. I didn't really like it, growing back curly. And then I had lung cancer, and they took a part of my lung out. So that was sort of always in the back of my mind about that. And then I was able to come out of it. In terms of the situation with riding the bike, the doctors, as I said, they did give me like a 1 year to ride a bike. Here's a guy with an artificial leg, with balance issues, trying to figure it out. But things sort of came naturally for me, right? I wasn't going to take no. You get up, you fall, you get up again, you fall, and that process may continue on. But you can't have the fear of wanting to be better. So that's where I was, and I just made it happen.
Wow, man. Wow. And like I saw your clips and I saw like people talking about you, like they always mention like you are very resilient. You always like face adversity, face like tough decisions in your life, and then still you came out a better person like from that. Can I ask like what does resilience mean to you?
Well, it means different things to different people, but I think resilience ultimately just means that you didn't give up. You fought to the very end. Sometimes the battle is not going to be won, but yet you're not going to close your eyes prematurely to the fight. And but I think that, in terms of resilient people, and I want your listeners to realize this, is that this is something that you can learn. There's tactics to be better at being resilient. There's a lot of things that might be thrown your way, and there's different techniques to deal with it. And also, um, in this day of mental health and mental illness and mindset, I think we try to take on things too often just ourselves, right? It's, if you're dealing with something in private, too many people have committed suicide. Too many people have been down on themselves in terms of what they're doing. And it's not because they may not be resilient. It's just because their resilient has a certain level if you keep it in, right? You don't tell people, you're afraid, you're ashamed of what your situation is. So for me, I had two choices to make in my life, and one choice was to just give up and essentially be this disabled kid who relied on my mom and dad and um, didn't give life a chance. Or it could be take hold of what I had in front of me, my new reality, being a kid with one leg, and how do you deal with that, and how do you deal with the public pressure of kids seeing you that way, and kids can be cruel at that age. You just kind of make the best of it, right? So my talk was talking to people and trying to make the best of it. And then you realize, especially we're talking about it like in the 80s, people don't care. I mean, you have this idea that I've got one leg, and for a long time I thought people cared. Well, they don't, right? And I think these days, when we're in the 2021 and going forward, people are a lot more tolerant of our differences than we ever have been. Not to say that it's certainly by any stretch of the imagination the we're there. There's still people who will hate. There's still people who will get on you for what you look like, your
Mhm.
your skin color, what you wear, how you look, whatever. But there is there's some changes that's been happening, I believe. And I think that you just need to band together. And I was just trying to, part of being resilient is showing your strengths, right? And I think showing my strengths, I was able to make it a little bit better.
And you are such a leader, great leader yourself, and now you're also like managing growth. How you would teach someone, or how would you like suggest someone like to be more resilient? Like what are some tactics you would suggest? Like you can like try using this, you can try using that, and then you can maybe like become more tolerant, become more resilient to that factor.
Well, I think that it comes down to just analyzing the situation.
Mhm.
If you're in a certain situation, just learn as much as you can. You know, Obviously, when you're younger, resiliency at that age just becomes with that fight or flight kind of mentality. But when you're older, and if something happens to you, and just learn that you don't need it to have all the answers.
Mhm.
In terms of managing, or in terms of being a leader, in terms of trying to overcome things, you can rely on other people to help you, right? Other people who have expertise. And so in terms of like resiliency of moving up, it's just about increasing your scope, and increasing your responsibility. But perhaps life experiences, that's why they call it life experiences, in terms of what you're doing, right? My management style is not just based on the time that I've been a manager or my work experiences. My management style is based on years of what I've seen on a swim team, or
Yeah.
previous positions, or trying to be the leader on the swim team. And you may often hear that people say leaders definitely need a title to lead, right? So leaders can be anybody. And I would say that a lot of leaders, you have to be resilient, because there's a lot of things coming your way, and you have to be able to deal with them. So take a look at 5 different leaders that in your own personal life, and think, do I know if that person's resilient? And then further than that, if you want to be better at resiliency, and you say to somebody, I think that person's a leader. And why is that person a leader? And then so talk to that person, especially if you want to get better. Like, say, listen, one-on-one, I see that you lead this company, you're the CEO, you're wherever the case may be. I assume you didn't get there by fluke or chance. So what is it that has made you successful, and what has it made you resilient to what you're doing? And I think once we get that growth mindset instead of a fixed mindset, and I think for anybody watching, I would suggest going out and Googling growth mindset versus fixed mindset, because it's a very big thing in terms of our development as people, being open to different things. But when you're fixed, it's like that ball is, this phone is red. No, it's green. No, it's red. No, it's clearly green, but people just are not open enough to change their minds. So
Yeah.
yeah.
And like one thing I just caught my interest, like you said that sometimes people say like success is like is it like by fluke or not? Like could you please tell me, can success be achieved overnight? Like sometimes I see like on a social media, like they become successful overnight, but I believe that there might be like a process behind that to become successful overnight. Like there might be hard work, but what would you say, like, can success be achieved overnight, like in very short period? And if not, like, then what is the process to become successful?
Well, if you go tonight and buy a lottery ticket and win tonight, then I guess maybe that's your definition of success, being a millionaire. Then all the power to you. But generally, when you think about success and then overcoming obstacles and doing your part, it's more along the lines of when you see an iceberg, and you may see 20% of that iceberg above the water, but 80% of it's below the water. And the stuff
Mhm.
that's below the water is all the things that have gone into making that iceberg where it is, right? If it was a tiny little iceberg, it's not going to be 20 feet above the water, because it's going to grow until you start seeing the results of the build. So certainly being working together in terms of success. I'm very big on teamwork. I'm very big on everybody helping each other out. And the idea of teamwork to me is like, together everyone achieves more. And you're not going to, it's like, it's kind of like dieting, losing weight. You're not going to, like, all of a sudden lose 20 pounds overnight, because if you do, you're probably going to gain it back the next day. It's a gradual process for most people. Now that time may vary from 2 weeks to 2 months to 3 months, but how does that change? If you're playing the piano, you're going to all of a sudden know how to play the piano in a week or two? I doubt it, right? You may be able to have a little bit of a instrumental going on, but you're probably not going to be able to truly learn it. Or a language, it's not going to take it overnight. So certainly things take time. Things worth working for take time. But honestly, that's why it's so sweet, or bittersweet, I guess, at the end. The Olympics are every 4 years. If the Olympics were held every year or every 6 months or whatever, then it wouldn't be as big a deal when you win or you do well, right? So there's a reason that there's a quadrennial. There's a reason. Well, now it's 5 years, but there's a reason that's in place. It's because that people realize that it takes a lot of time to be successful. And the Olympics or Paralympics, in my case, are a metaphor for life. You get in there and you just you know keep moving, right? And it's a series of goal setting. Short-term goals leading to long-term goals. What's a short-term goal? So long-term goals typically within 1 year of setting them. So the short-term goals help that. So where am I after this month? Where am I after month 2? How fast should I go in the pool? What's my goals at work? Do I have monthly goals to reach the long-term goals? These things take time. So I would say everything that I've sort of accomplished in my life takes more than a couple days. That's for sure.
Definitely. And again, like, I couldn't agree more. You said, like, success can certainly takes time. Like, and I feel, and I want to ask you this here now. When you are working towards success, like, there's always some time, like, when people start doubting to you. And because I'm curious, you also mentioned somewhere that in your very early age, people start doubting, or you people were saying, like, Andrew, like, you shouldn't compete on this level. Like few people were even saying, like, you only have like one leg, you shouldn't compete, you can't compete. When people are doubting on you, like, how you would teach that is it, like, if they doubt, like, you don't start doubting in yourself. Like, my question is that, did you ever happen by in your early phase, like, when people were saying, people were naysayers, they saying no, did you also, like, start doubting in yourself, like, I shouldn't go there, like, I shouldn't start swimming? Was that, like, happened to you, like, in that period?
Yeah. So I think a lot of people may stop before they start because of influence from somebody else, let's call it,
Mhm.
whether it's a parent, a friend, a mentor, a leader of some sort, a so-called leader. So if I was starting swimming and my mom and dad said, Andrew, I really don't think you should do this. What if people see your leg? Um, that may put some doubt in my mind that this is a good idea. They're not really willing to drive you to the pool in the morning or the afternoon. If you don't have that support network at the start, how are you going to possibly, as a young person, get to that level, right? And people question this. So sure, there was questions about whether I could compete at the level that I was competing at, but my parents did support me. I had that. They saw the fire in me in terms of doing well. When I came back from my first World Championships in 1990 in the plane ride, I said to myself I was going to be world champion, and that was sort of just an unconscious thought that sort of came to me. And to consider that is like, here's this little kid, 16 years old, if you could call it 16-year-old little, but 16-year-old old, living in North Sydney, Nova Scotia. And and you think about all the other people from Cape Breton Island, Nova Scotia, who probably don't think they're as good as somebody from Ontario. How can I possibly compete against somebody from Ontario? Forget how can I possibly compete against somebody around the world, right? So there I was. I didn't say to myself, I'm going to be the best in Canada. I'm going to be the best in North America.
Right.
I'm going to be the best in the Commonwealth. I went beyond to the nth degree to say I'm going to be the best in the world. And it's that mindset, and not everybody's going to have the mindset to be the best in the world. I'm not suggesting everybody just go out and say all of a sudden I'm the best ever. But I'm sure that when you look back at history in terms of people who were younger, Wayne Gretzky probably thought he was going to be the best hockey player ever. Sidney Crosby grew up down the street from me when I was growing up in Nova Scotia, and he's probably thinking the same thing. Serena Williams probably started out thinking that she's going to be the best tennis player ever. And sometimes you do and sometimes you don't. But I thought that I was going to be the best. I had a great support network around me, and I had a support network that was willing to let me be me. And wherever I went, whatever that ended up turning out to be, they were going to give me the chance. Because I think reality is they saw the HE double toothpick stuff that I was going through when I was younger. And it was time for some joy. And I think when you see that light shine through, and you can really see it for a lot of people, what they're doing, right? If you really love ballet, or you really love gymnastics, or you really love playing the piano, you need somebody to really take notice of that and try to, in the best you can, if it's financially feasible, to let it go.
Amazing, amazing. And then you like started in the swimming career. And when you like see on the TV, I believe like swimming seems like an individual game, but you would say like is success is also like individual, or no, like you need a team, you need a people around you. Even in the today's world, like if you are just solopreneur or a person like starting a small business, do you think like they can make it successful by just themselves, or you need people around you? What would you say?
Yeah, I certainly think that. I mean, oftentimes it's that expression that says, it takes a village to raise a child, kind of thing. And in terms of my career, all the medals that I've won, all the awards that I've won, I don't stand up there. I mean, I may stand up there alone, but certainly I don't think that way.
Mhm.
I got inducted into Nova Scotia Sport Hall of Fame, and my parents were instrumental in my career. I had friends and family who pushed me. I had many great coaches who I think about during those times. And anytime that you watch a broadcast of a sporting event, especially I think back to like when the Stanley Cup has been awarded, and it's a very common question if you're a hockey fan to
Yeah.
watch the announcers say, "Who do you think about in this moment? Who do you share this with?" And there's a reason that question is asked, is because you're not going to go through life by yourself, right? If you're married with kids, your spouse is back home taking care of the kids. There's somebody who drove you to that early morning hockey practice. There's a teacher who helped you with school while you were maybe needed to take some time off, or a tutor or something like that. So there's all sorts of people, a massage therapist to put you back together when you're falling apart, that help in that journey. And even it might be a small part, but
Mhm.
that small little piece is what you needed at that moment. So that's why it's a collective team effort.
I think like that's why like we always say like you should always be grateful for everything like happening in your life, because that's like compounding in your success, I would say. Uh, and you whenever like we see even in the business world, like we see like business leader, we see so many on YouTube, even the athletes, when you interview, like there's one thing common in each of them. They would always say like when they reach on the top, they would always say that they made sacrifice throughout the process that make them to be there. What would you say? Like I always listen to it, like I always read it as well, like you made sacrifices, you need to make some sacrifices. Could you suggest us like what are sacrifices we're talking here, like what type of sacrifices do you really need to become successful in any craft, in if in sports, if in business, or if like in entrepreneurship, in YouTube channel, like what type of sacrifices we really talk about?
Yeah, so I'm going to go a little bit off the cuff here and say that during my swimming career, I didn't sacrifice one thing. And you
Mm,
often hear people talk about, you're right, I sacrificed this, I sacrificed that.
yeah.
When I was younger, I didn't go to dances when I was in grade 11 and 12, and I sacrificed going on dates or going out with my friends drinking when you're old enough, or, I sacrificed watching my favorite sports team play. But if you think about what the nature of what you're sacrificing, the nature of what you're getting. So I didn't stay up late to watch my favorite hockey team play because I got up early to better myself. And when you think about that, is that really a sacrifice? If the goal is to always push forward and always be better. So my personal model was I want to be better today than I was yesterday. I want to be better tomorrow than I am today. And you can't do that by sleeping in. You can't do that by not, I mean, you can sleep in if it's like a Sunday and you don't have workout, but I'm saying if you have workout, get up there and go do it. So there's going to be times where you're going to have to give things up. Um, but I did so willingly because I knew that I was pushing myself more towards the podium. So it's not a sacrifice if it meant winning a gold medal. It's not a sacrifice if it meant setting a world record. So that's the same thing in life. There's going to be times that things are going to come up. As a parent, if there's a show on TV that you really want to watch, whatever the case may be, and your son or daughter has homework, your son or daughter needs you for something, your son or daughter needs your attention, whatever the case may be. Is that a sacrifice? You can't watch the TV show? Not really, because you're investing your time in helping your child be better, and that's more important.
Yeah.
So you could see it as a sacrifice. Oh, you didn't watch the Oscars last night? That's too bad. What happened? Well, I was helping my daughter or my son or whatever, or I was volunteering at a soup kitchen, for the betterment of other people. Then that's not to me, that's not a sacrifice, because the sacrifice to me is the ultimate. I wanted to do that. I didn't because I was doing something else with almost no gain.
Mm.
Right. So, anyways, yeah.
No, definitely. And if you think like you said like that, those are not sacrifice. But if you're like doing something that are like pushing you hard, like you are doing self growth, how would you suggest like what should do, like how you would coach someone to be so much motivated that they can get up early so they don't like watch night shows, or what can they do like to be keep motivated to keep pushing themselves ahead, and then they can like achieve that goal that which they had in their mind?
Well, I think that answer comes from within, in terms of getting up in the morning and stuff like that. It's like little things like, my wife has an Apple Watch and she's playing a game with a friend who's basically, who can work out the most. And in terms of like the sacrifices in the morning, you just have to take stock of what you want in your life. So you have to say, well, I want to, lose 20 pounds, or I want to, get tone up my abs, or whatever the case may be, or I want to learn that language. And then you got to think, well, can I do it between 9 and 5? I'm working full time, so I really can't.
Mhm.
So then you have to basically, that's where goal setting comes in. I'm going to get up 3 times a week. I'm going to get up at 6:45. I'm going to study from 7 till 8, and then I'm going to get ready for work, and I'm going to go work from 9 to 10. Right. And a lot of people, especially myself, I can speak for myself and others I know, when you get up in the morning and do something, you feel so much better during the day because you've accomplished something before most people even think about it. And when I say most people, I'm probably saying, the good majority of people who didn't, and that may have been you, right? You may have like, I work at 9, I get up at 8:15, take my shower, have my breakfast, and out the door, and I go to my office. And there's nothing wrong with that, right? And so let's put that out there. There's nothing wrong with the everyday, but certain people want to go above and beyond that, and they want to be able to push themselves a little bit forward. Maybe you're running a marathon or a triathlon or something where you need to run, and you need to swim, and you need to bike. And where are you going to find the time? Where are you going to find the time when you've got responsibilities at the end of the day? You need to be able to fit that in.
Yeah.
But so many uh, examples of people who have pushed the envelope and found the time.
Yeah.
And that, so I would suggest that, A, do the best job you can in terms of that, but also maybe you know somebody, or maybe you go on LinkedIn or you or somewhere and try to find somebody that looks like they've accomplished some great things, right? Google 55-year-old triathlon who started for the first time, triathlete. Maybe there's a master's group. So get that support network, right? If you get that, then you can start seeing your way through and start to make headway. And I also think the other thing I want to share is that one of the things I do when I do my motivational speaking is that about this idea about that we're each a book. And so if I was to read your book or anybody's book, how would the chapters go? Did the chapters just go, woke up in the morning, got ready for work, went to work, came back, helped my kids with their homework, watched TV with my spouse, went to bed? Perfectly fine. No problem. But is that how you see your life? And if you see your life as somebody who, you want to be getting up in the morning, pushed myself, learned this language, did this, went for a run, then you're like, okay, if that's your story that you want to be told, then go and tell the story. Go out and make it happen. I was reading about a friend of mine the other day. He got he was like works out at 5:30 in the morning. Now I can't do that right now because I've got my kids and get my kids ready for school. But back in the day, I would have been okay getting up that early to push the limits. So do what's best for the listeners and the watchers, viewers. Do what's best for you. Do what's best for in terms of your life, your goals, your situation. But I would encourage you, no matter what your age, no matter what your ability, if you want to do it, go and do it. Just get the support, write some things down. Maybe it's going to be a little bit tougher in this pandemic world that we live in right now, but in time, things probably will open up. And this is a good time to take stock of where you are with your life right now and where you want and how you want to get better. Are you somebody who has spent a lot of time over the last year in the pandemic and you're just like, this is too much? Start making plans so when this is over to be better. Go for a run, go for a walk, do those little things that can clear your mind, because it's not just about physical health, it's about mental health. And I think we can all just take a step back, breathe, and focus on what you want to do next time.
Amazing, man. I couldn't agree more. Like you said, like start making plan, and you always like talk about goal setting. If you also like listen to your other speeches, like you always mention like set your goals. And I really want to ask here is that, and it's also like personal to me as well. If you suggest someone like to do a goal setting, what would you suggest? Like, should we set realistic goals in a realistic time, or should we aim for like very difficult kind of unrealistic goals, like, and so that like you can prepare, you can push yourself that much hard because you already set an unrealistic goal? What you suggest and what you did like when you were planning to become a world champion?
I always had two types of goals. So one goal is like I kind of set like what I call a dream goal, because it may not have been like within a year of setting it, like what sort of long-term goal would be. And even though I set a goal of saying one day I want to be world champion at that age, at 16, a lot of people you're out of your mind. Like there's no way that you're going to be able to do that. But the thing is, I believed it, right? And that was enough for me to shovel snow off car, go to pool, cold pool in the morning, and do all those things that we talked about, giving some things up for the better of myself.
Yeah.
So I think everybody out there will have their own level of tolerance towards what they're going to achieve. I would just say that it's like that situation where you go to the ocean, you take your shoe off, you take your sock off, and you dip your little toe into the water. And at that moment, you think about what's possible. You think about what's possible in terms of in the metaphor of life, which means just try, just get in, just give it a go, and you start learning. As individuals, to be learners. What can I do next time? How can I be better? Or if you're reading a book or learning a language, it's hard. It's really hard to get started. That first third of your training program, when you're not seeing results and you're going through it and you're just like, this is hard. Right now I'm studying for my GMAT, and I want to take my MBA, and it's a difficult process for anybody who's ever taken GMAT, LSAT, GRE, all these admissions tests, to study for it, because there's so many things that you can learn. and know, right, from a quant, a verbal, a formula, whatever. So it's a very daunting process. So I've tried to step back and just take, everything one at a time. You do your test. Where can I improve? Check it again. Okay, I'm a little bit weak in this. Let me try this. How do I learn more about this? And that's what it's all about. Eventually the pieces to the puzzle hopefully come together. And if they don't, and you so-called fail, happens, then readjust and reevaluate the effort and reevaluate. So the effort's there. So it was nothing to do with effort. All right, fine. Was it about mental approach? Was it about a strategy that I used that didn't quite work out? Right. So if I'm swimming a 200 individual medley, did I go too fast in my 50 butterfly? So it's 50 butterfly, 50 backstroke, 50 breaststroke, 50 freestyle, fly back breast free. So the fly is fly. People know fly, and then the backstroke's the backstroke, and then the breaststrokes is this one, and then the freestyle is normal freestyle.
Yeah.
So you could say during the race, well, my 50 fly was too fast, and then because it was too fast, it negatively impacted the rest of the race. Maybe it's too slow, and then because it was too slow, I didn't have enough momentum to get me through the rest of the race and failed. Or maybe it was just right. And then how do the individual strokes hum after that? My point there is that this whole process of goal setting, this whole process of moving forward is one big game. It's one big thing about learning, taking information in real time and trying to adjust, right? And say, how about this? How does this feel? So, but that's fun. I think that's fun. I think it's fun to get to know yourself, get to know your how far your body can push you. And I would say that, if you said to anybody, do you know what it's truly like to feel pressure? A lot of people would probably say, yes, I know how to feel it. But what about something that you really wanted? Not talking about pressure that may be put upon you, like, hey, you have to do this assignment for work. That's a certain kind of pressure. But what about the pressure of knowing that you want something so bad that you can taste it, and yet you're going to do everything you can to get it, and you're at that moment, that pièce de résistance moment, where, like, I'm doing it now, right? And your palms are sweaty and you're nervous and you're just like, oh my God, I can't believe this, right? Maybe you're taking like a master's degree and you have to defend your thesis that you worked on for 4 months, and you get nervous because you're like, can I defend this? And you do it and you feel great about yourself. And that's the feeling. It's the feeling of going through the journey. So sometimes it's not about the destination. It's the journey that you have along the way. And if you can get there, then you're doing a lot better.
Amazing, man. Amazing. Some of things like you just mentioned, like it resonated with me. Like I could see myself like in the past month, like few months, I was going through that journey. And you amazing, brother. Like you made such a name in yourself, like in swimming industry. You won so many medals. And after your swimming career, how's your life changed? Like, could you talk about like what happened after the life, like how you use those skills you learned during the swimming career in your now business life? Could you like please share that?
Sure. So a lot of it is to do with um, you, like the teamwork and leadership. So leadership to me, I'll give an example.
Mhm.
So way back in 1990, when I first started, 1989, when I first started swimming, I was 15 years old, and I was very scared of people seeing my disability, because we're talking about that age group, right? The people that make fun of, they
Yeah.
talk behind your back, and so it was a very big phobia of mine in terms of that happen. So I was talking to my coach, excuse me, at the time, and I was saying my concerns about, I don't want people to see my leg and my good friends, whatever. And he took the time to listen to me, and he took the time to hear my concerns. And he couldn't possibly relate to me because he had 2 legs. But what he did for me in that moment in time was that he gave me perspective about what I could be. And we had no idea where that journey would go in terms of my success or lack of success or whatever the case may be. But he said, you know what, you've got a chance here to do something that may truly benefit your life. And and it did. So in terms of being a manager now, I try to make the time where I'm always listening to the staff. Um, I may not understand exactly where they're coming from or what they're talking about in certain circumstances. Most of the time I will, but I take the time to listen and I give them their voice for what they're doing. Not just, I'm the boss, you're doing this. I let them help out as well. So I think that's a very important uh, trait that I learned, is to always empower people, empower people to be better, empower people to speak up, empower people to give their opinions.
Amazing, man. Like you mentioned, like it's a great ability of leader, like to empower people. If I ask here, like Andrew, what would you say, like the one must have ability, capability of a leader, like every leader should have? Like you talk about, you listen to the staff, you talk about like you empower them, you let them speak. What would you say, like what is the one must ability of every leader should have, brother?
Um, yeah, there's so many, between like resilience and change and understanding. But I'm going to say above all, something that I feel that I need, and I think everybody needs in order that you're just going to fall, and that's passion. I really feel that without passion, we're nothing. You know, we're not talking here today if you don't have passion for this YouTube channel. You know, we're not talking. I'm not competing at the Paralympics if I didn't have a passion for the end goal and where I wanted to accomplish life. I'm not leading the team I'm leading if I don't have a passion for, of continuing on, because eventually that star is going to fizzle out. And people say to me, how do you like your job? I was like, I love it. I absolutely love it. And if you were going to go sell widgets and you weren't really big on selling widgets, but yet that was your job, how much before it's going to hurt your mental state? How much before you're just going to be like, you're going to stand up and say, oh, God, I can't believe I'm going to, with your eyes closed, I can't believe I'm going to this job again. So I think that there's many things great leaders should have. But if you take it overall, if we all had a little more compassion
Yeah,
and a little more passion for the journey, you want to see your leaders with that fire to always push your people below you, right? Push themselves. I see, like, and we have this in my job. My ultimate leader, with the name of the company, but my ultimate leader, if I close my eyes, he goes, he's always very like, he makes you feel like you are the only person there talking to him when he's speaking to you. And he may have 1,000 different things on his mind. This, budget, costs, this is going to start, that's going to start, whatever. But when you're speaking to him one-on-one, he makes you feel like you have his attention 110%. And that's a very big leadership thing that I will take with me, because I want to make sure that I'm in the moment when I'm talking to somebody, and not just in work, but in just hopefully in general life. Somebody's going to come talk to you. I'm going to give them attention. I'm going to look them straight in the eye and I say, how can I help you today? Without this, check my watch.
yeah.
What time is it? And I've got to go and whatever. So, and I was somewhere with my wife not too long ago, and we were looking for like flooring, and it was like past 6 o'clock. And the whole time we're in there, and the guy's looking at his watch. And we knew it was getting late, but they offered for us to stay. But yet he kept looking at his watch, and it's just like, that's not a good, that was not a good look, because you don't feel that person is really truly listening to you. They just want to get out the door. So if you talk to me about one thing, would be a passion, and it would also be about trying to be stay in the moment and try to lead the best you can.
Wonderful, brother. Be at the moment. I just totally agree with that. Like I'm actually learning this ability now. I'm not good at like to be at the moment, because sometimes like my mind, because English is my third language, so sometimes my mind start translating that into my native language. I kind of like lost in the moment. But now I'm improving more and more, and I just couldn't agree more. Like this is a must ability everyone should have.
Let me
And
just say this one thing before I step in. So kudos to you for learning 3 languages. I know English is not an easy language to learn. And I would also, out there, for people watching, because my wife's Brazilian. So my daughter speaks Portuguese, she speaks English, and we're basically saying how important it is, for instance, to speak French. So if anybody's watching this, or who's watching this, I would highly recommend keeping an open mind to learning other languages. It is going to help you enormously, no matter what it is in your life. It may not be the language you're learning. For instance, like, might be learning Hindi, but maybe it's not something that is prevalent as here as English and French. But it's opening your mind to knowledge
Yeah.
and to other things that helps in so many different ways. And when you get the mindset of learning usually from a child perspective, or you can never stop learning, it's so important. So good on you for learning multiple languages, and I just want to encourage everybody else out there to just that's super important, to always move forward.
No, thank you so much. Thank you. And you said like learning French. I don't know, like I can show you, but I have like this vision board where like I have goals, and I have mentioned that like by 2023, I'm gonna be like 30%, 40% proficient in like French as well now. Like I have that goal as well.
You
So
know what? There's no reason that anybody out there can't accomplish goals these days. I mean, everybody. Think about 20 years ago when we didn't have YouTube, and we didn't have LinkedIn for people's stories, and we didn't know who other people were that did other things. Nowadays, you can go to LinkedIn and say, or Google search, I want somebody who did this, right? And you can figure out who that person is and maybe contact that person. And a lot of times, if you're just saying, hey, you've done so many great things, like our conversation, can I have some time just to learn, to show, like my son or daughter's struggling, can you help me, right? A lot of people will probably, depending on who they are, probably would say yes to like a chat or whatever the case may be. And we have inspiring people around us every single day. When I do my motivational talks, last slide I have in there is I am great. And I don't say that because I, Andrew, think I'm great, although I've done some amazing things, but I do that because I know the audience reads the slides. And if you said, and then so their reading is like, I am great, I'm amazing, that kind of thing. That's where we need to start instilling in other people that everybody's got a story. Everybody's done some amazing, great things. And we have to start discounting people's efforts. If you volunteer at your kid's school and that's the time that you have, then that's amazing. Don't compare. Don't start getting in a situation where you're comparing, oh, what did you do with your free time? Well, I volunteered at my kid's school. Well, no, I helped save world hunger. It's not about that. It's about you and the effort that you have and making a difference. And if I can say to you, do you think you're making a difference in other people's lives? And the answer is no. Then I would say, is there something that you can do to help other people? Because isn't that what humanity is all about? Is helping other people. So that's where I think that if we all have this mindset that it's better to give than receive, then we're gonna get a lot. Because if people are always giving, not in a bad way, like, hey, you said it was good to receive, you have $1 million, give it to me. But there's other things that we can give. We can give of our time, we can give of our knowledge, we can give of our effort. Then I think that once you get a society full of people who just want to help others, that's pretty powerful stuff.
like I also agree with that. Like you give and without any expectations, and you can expect like there might be great things coming to you in your life as well. And I also agree with that. Like, yes, I feel like I always say like I'm thankful because I'm living in this time period, because I have access of laptop, I have access of internet. Like
Sure.
there's so many opportunities I think I have, which my parents might not have. So I always say like I'm thankful for every day, like because I live in this generation. So I just agree with that to you, brother.
Yeah.
And you, uh, last question, like I really don't want to take you that much time, but last question, brother. If there's one thing you really want listeners to take away from the conversation from yourself, what would you say? Like if you are like if they're listening to you and you really, what would be the one thing they really should take away from you?
Don't give up on yourself. Don't ever give up on yourself. Don't ever give up on, there might be times where it might be the darkest. You don't feel the strength to move on. You don't think life is worth living. You don't think that you matter. And I've talked to a lot of people in my days in terms of, what they're doing. And in reality is everybody matters. We all matter in our own small way, and don't compare yourself to other people. Um, just compare yourself to you. And I often say when I'm doing my speaking is like, you don't have to conquer the world. You just have to conquer your world. And I think that if you get in there and you can conquer your own personal world, whatever that looks like, give yourself a break. It's a tough life out there right now, right? Don't be so hard on others. Don't be so hard on yourself. Give yourself that chance to relax and rest. But yes, give yourself that chance to be great. Back in 92, as you alluded to earlier, when we were talking about that, a race that I did, and I won a bronze medal at the Paralympics. I was going back and forth, and I wasn't supposed to win a medal. And I was in fourth place at the 300-meter mark. And I said, okay, I'm going to go now. And another voice inside me, don't do it. And then another voice, that's sort of that angel voice, comes in and says, go now, allow yourself to be great. And I sort of put on as much extra effort that I could be, and I finished in third place and won an amazing bronze medal for Canada and a Canadian record. And the moment of being able to say to myself, allow yourself to be great, took away all those inhibitions or stress or whatever, because it was just, I had no choice. So I would say that for everybody watching, just give you that chance to be great. Give yourself that chance to shine, because I guarantee everybody watching, and be real, I know you do. So looking straight, I know you do. You want to be great, right? You want that sort of that accolades, that moment in the sun. So give yourself the chance. Give yourself the chance to make it happen, and surround yourself with a great team. And a setup is not going to be good if you're going to start today and end tomorrow. So set yourself up for success. Set yourself up for being the best you can be. And I'm pretty sure if you do that, you'd be very, very pleasantly surprised with how it's going to turn out. And that could be an epiphany moment for you.
Wonderful. And you, thank you so much, like, for sharing your experience and stories. I I don't like, whenever we listen to your stories and when I was researching about you, like, it's so inspirational. Like, you feel inspiration, you feel like, and you can do it. Can do it as well. Like, I can't give up now. I can't give up now. I have to do it now. Your story is kind of like that, and I just really, I'm so much thankful. Like, you gave us your time and you came on the show, brother. Like, thank you so much, man.
Yeah, no worries. So virtual fist bump. And good luck to everybody out there. And thank you again for speaking with me this morning. And hope everybody enjoys it.
Well, I have it. I hope. And thank you so much again. Like, thanks so much. Have a wonderful week, brother.
All right, you too. Cheers.